Hey guys, so I am back and I have even more books to talk about. I swear, there's always new books coming out. There's always just little branches that I want to talk about when it comes to like the book community. And today I'm talking about some of my favorite books. And the thing about these books is they have started on one of the best apps in my opinion, and that is Wattpad. And if you don't know what Wattpad is, it originally started like I think early 2010s, and it was originally a fan fiction site. I think you would go on there like 2014 and it would just be plain fan fiction, and eventually it evolved. Now a ton of authors are putting their stuff on Wattpad, and they're getting book deals, movie deals, and it's just evolved into something much bigger than I ever thought it would. Like I was thinking probably like 5 years ago, I would ask somebody if they knew what Wattpad is, and they would say no and have no clue. Now I feel like it's much more known, and I can just ask random people and they'll have some idea of it, even if it's just that it was a fan fiction site. Because if you think about it, The Kissing Booth, I feel like, was the first like big movie that came out, the Netflix movie, and it was a Wattpad book. So I think that really got more people to know what Wattpad is, so it's changed obviously. There's another book series that I'm going to talk about later on in this video that also changed the game for Wattpad in my opinion, but I personally love Wattpad. I've read a lot of good books on there, a lot of good fan fiction too, to be honest with you guys, and I'm going to be sharing you some of my favorite book recommendations from Wattpad. So since this is a video about Wattpad books, I think it's safe to start off with this one series. And you probably know which one I'm going to start off with. And that is After by Anna Dodd. If you don't know what this is, it started off as a Harry Styles fanfiction. I think it was like self-insert fanfiction. And it was about Harry Styles and a girl named Tessa. He's the bad boy, she's like the innocent good girl. And they fall in love, and it's just this like super toxic relationship. There's 4 books. There were originally 3 books on the Wattpad app, but they were so long, so they got split up into 4. And to be completely honest with you, one of those books is huge, and this is probably the first book I ever read on Wattpad that got me hooked on it. And I've also been hooked on this book series. There's a whole movie franchise, which everyone kind of hates now, but the books, they are cringy, but it's a good kind of cringe in my opinion. Obviously, like when it got published, they changed the names. It's no longer Harry Styles, it's Hardin Scott, and then there's Tessa. And something about this, it's like, it brings me back to my teenage years, so I love this book, the nostalgia of it all. And I just really think this is a good book that people should read, even if it's cringy. And there is another movie coming out that people really don't like, so I will be rereading these again, just because I'm still gonna see the movie, even though it's nothing like the books anymore. But I'm just gonna reread these before it comes out, do a whole little, I think I'm gonna do a video on this of me rereading these, but definitely go give this book a try. So I have another book that I read when I first got into Wattpad, and this is Did I Mention I Love You by Maskim. And this is another like Wattpad book, and it's about a girl named Eden, and she goes to California after her mom marries again, and she meets her new stepbrother Tyler. And this is a forbidden romance because it is between a stepbrother and a stepsister. And first they start off enemies to lovers, so you know, you got all these different kind of tropes in there, and you know, they're obviously living together. He's the bad boy, that's another trope there, bad boy and innocent girl. And I don't know why, but I really liked this book. There are several books in the series. Definitely go give this book a try. Definitely recommend it. So next I have First Are Always Messy by Jessie Hansen, and I read this book a couple years ago before she self-published, and I was obsessed with this book. It's about a girl named Jenny who's been in love with her best friend Matt since like they met when they were kids, but he's never reciprocated any of those feelings towards her. And so eventually Matt's brother Kyle comes back into town from college, and they start having feelings for each other, and then she falls in love with Kyle. Then all of a sudden Matt wants to finally start a relationship with Jenny, and then something happens. I will say there is unexpected pregnancy trope in this, and obviously it's the best friend's older brother trope, but I love this, and it deals with a lot of like trauma because there is some things that happen in this book for one of the characters, and there's a lot of anxiety and depression in this book towards the end. But it is a really good book. I absolutely love it. You can read the first one on the Wattpad app for free, and then the rest of the books are on Kindle Unlimited. And then obviously on Amazon you can purchase the paperback versions of this, so those are all the ways you can get a hold of this book. Next I have She's With Me by Jessica Consolo, and I think I've mentioned previously in a video about a book from this series, and I think it was my pre-order book series little video that I made. And this is about a girl who is escaping her father, her abusive father, and she moves into a new town. She has a different name because obviously witness protection and all of that, and she meets the town bad boy. And at first it's like they hate each other, you know, you got that enemies to lovers going on, and then they realize that they have a lot of common with certain things because he's also dealing with, I think, his stepfather or his biological father. I can't remember, it's been a minute since I've read this, but they're dealing with all of that, and it's just really good. There's also car racing in this, so I liked that part of it, but I really enjoyed this book. Definitely go check this book out. You can get it in like bookstores in the YA section, and it's on Wattpad Premium, so that's how you can get a hold of it. So I have another book that has a movie adaptation out there, and the movie adaptation's on Netflix, and that is Through My Window by Ariana Godoy. If you can't tell, I have like spilled coffee all over my cover of this book, but this is about a girl named Raquel, and she basically has been in love with her next door neighbor since like forever, and she low-key kind of stalks him, and his name is Ari Hidalgo. His dad like owns this huge corporation. All the kids are named after like Greek gods. So she stalks him, but he steals her Wi-Fi password, and that's how this all kind of starts. And then there's the whole like will thee won't thee kind of in there, and it was so good. Definitely, if you're gonna watch the movie, read this first because it is a little different. And I like the book so much. I love the movie, and there is another movie coming out, so I'm super excited about that. So this is my only like fantasy insert for this little video because I feel like Wattpad generally has a lot more romance than it does fantasy, but you can find some good fantasy from Wattpad, and that is The Last She by H.J. Nelson. And this is about a girl. The whole world has been plagued by this disease that only seems to attack the females, and there's no more females left, so people believe, but she has managed to survive, and she is found by this boy who lives in this camp, and they're like all kind of confused because they thought all the girls had died off. And so that just kind of goes, and that's how the story evolves, and they're trying to find a cure because now that there's a girl, like, oh, we can find a cure. So that's what this is about. There are several books in the series, and only 2 of the 3 are published and out there, and you can go buy them. But this is definitely a good book, especially if you like the whole dystopian kind of vibes. I loved this book. Immediately was obsessed with it. Next I have My Fault by Mercedes Ron, and this was originally published on Wattpad in Spanish because I believe that was her native language. And obviously this is blown up all over TikTok because recently they made a movie adaptation of it, and I will admit that movie was good, and the book is just as good, and I loved it. And it's about Noah and Nick, and they are step siblings, so obviously you have that forbidden romance trope, and she's trying to escape her abusive father as well, who she thought was in prison. There's all that, and there's car racing, the whole like fight thing, and I just loved it. It starts enemies to lovers. You can't go wrong with enemies to lovers, in my opinion. I feel like that's a lot of what Wattpad is. It's just all these tropes mashed into one, and I loved this book. I loved the romance between it, how he's just so protective of her, and I would definitely recommend this. It's no longer on Wattpad because it has been published by Bloom, but definitely go find this book. I believe it's in the YA section. Don't get how, 'cause it's a little spicy. I will admit, it is spicy. You can definitely expect the spice when reading a Wattpad book, I will say that. And my last book that I have to share with you guys, you may not have known even came from Wattpad, but I read this book before it got published, before it blew up everywhere on Book Talk, BookTube, everywhere. I read it before it got super popular. I actually read it like immediately, like right after I read it is when she published it and self-published it. Now it's traditionally published, but that book is Icebreaker by Hannah Grace, and this is about an ice skater named Stassi, and she is enemies with this hockey player, Nate. And Nate does a prank, and it causes them to lose access to the skating rink, and there's this whole thing that happens, and he helps her train for figure skating because she loses her partner, because her partner gets injured, and he helps her grow. And I think the spice in this book was just perfection. The romance in this book was perfection. Like, honestly, I can understand why this blew up all over the book community. But it's just such a good book, and obviously the cover is, I love this cover. I just think it's so cute, and I would definitely recommend you go find this book. I think it is still on Kindle Unlimited, so there is another way to access this book. But yeah, definitely go check out Icebreaker. So definitely go check out these Wattpad books. You won't regret it, I will say that. And obviously, I'm probably going to do a part 2 because there's just so many more books on Wattpad that aren't even published or on paperback. And there's all these books I could go on for days. And I just love Wattpad. I don't know why, but I never really read physical books for a long time, but I always read Wattpad books. And it's just a big part of my teenage years, to be completely honest with you guys. And I like how it's changed, and now all these people are getting opportunities that might not have happened before Wattpad evolved, and I'm just so happy about it. And I love all the movie adaptations that are coming out. I'm so excited. You know, we have the next Through My Window movie coming out, and we have the new After coming out, and then obviously you had Perfect Addiction that came out. There's just so much happening when it comes to Wattpad, and I love the Wattpad community on there, so definitely go check out these books.